Okay, 432 The Drop Radio, King Drop, man. You know what I'm saying? Yo, thanks for vibing with me, man. You know what I mean? On the freestyling facts, there will be more. I can't freestyle, man. I just be messing around, you know what I mean? But we gotta keep it light. We gotta have fun, man. We gotta just chill sometimes, you know what I'm saying? We got a lot of information to cover. It's so much, right? So we're trying to stay focused and do it, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Just be productive. Shout out to everybody, man. It's just vibing to it, man. And yeah, man, get with it or get left on. You already know the time. You know what I'm saying? Let's get into it. We are back at it right quick, man. You know what I'm saying? Special love to this king. Michael Thompson, Copper Warrior. Michael Thompson, Copper Warrior. King's good, man. He, you know, drops a drop. A lot of these cats, man, is just really good brothers, and they're doing it right. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, deal with it. We're all trying to figure it out, but the worst thing you could do is get between us and the information right now. You know what I'm saying? The worst thing you can do is, you know, just come with a bunch of static. You know what I mean? Like, if it's one thing you don't get, and it's 99 things you do get, you know what I mean? Focus on what you get. And the things you don't get, you know what I mean? You know, there's a way to get that out. You know what I'm saying? There's a way to get that drop, but you ain't gonna get 100%. You know what I mean? This has been, you know, it just is what it is. This activation process is not gonna be exactly when you want it to. You're not gonna just hear this video or that video and say, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. So let's get over that illusion. So since we know that's not gonna happen, you're not gonna agree with everything I say or whoever says. Then the one thing you dislike or the one thing you disagree, don't focus on it, because it's going to be something every single time. Since we can all agree that you're not going to come here and agree 100% of the time. But I'm going to do my best to just present the drop, not to try to convince you of drop, but just to present it, give you a link, and let you figure it out. I ain't leading nobody to nothing but cutting edge material that I think personally, you know what I'm saying, it's going to help us take these steps that we need to take to remember how valuable we are. To remember that we got the drop, you know what I'm saying? And, yo, we about to be back on the air, man, on that Blog Talk Radio. We had the Live 365. They went out of business, so we had to kind of redo our whole framework. We're still doing that so that we can not use any third party. But I miss y'all, man. I miss being live on the radio. I miss, you know, connecting with the artists like that, dropping the music and featuring the music live. So we're back, man. We got the Blog Talk coming up, you know what I'm saying, in a few weeks, you know, maybe a couple weeks. Hopefully get the framework up very soon. So stay tuned. We'll be live, and you can then call in, share your drop. You know what I'm saying? We can all be in that frequency, and we'll get our chat room on the website going as well, where we have our days when we can come together and just you know, exchange information, or you know, just chat on our own platform, not Facebook or YouTube or anything owned by them. You know what I'm saying? But you come to the drop, we can do it there. That's the best we can do right now. So we'll get the chat room studies going. You know what I'm saying? We'll get the live stuff going, and the framework is building. You know what I'm saying? We got the swag frequency events on the way, where our artists are going to be performing, doing their tracks, all in 432 hertz. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a beautiful thing to be all in that frequency together, vibrating, being healed, feeling calm and good and relaxed. You know what I'm saying? So that's coming. Swag frequency events, swag freak clothing, hats, shirts, and all that. FREQ, swag freak. You know, we're just having a good time, man. Just promoting this. Our proceeds are going towards all kind of great, you know what I'm saying, charities and events and all kind of stuff that we want to do. We got our frequency of learning, you know what I'm saying, program that's going right to our children, right to the schools. We're going in there. We are addressing behavior and learning aptitude through the mathematical frequency of music. We set them up with their own links on our site. They have their own vibe suites, their own music, their own pictures and logos, their own instructional videos. And they can be in 432 hertz, man. Have nice calming music in the background of the classrooms. You know, these kids are getting out of control. So this music is going to calm them down. You know what I'm saying? This music is going to relax them, just the frequency itself, you know, and the teachers, you know what I'm saying, everybody else. So we're trying to affect, you know what I'm saying, learning aptitude like that, go to our communities and our people. And if you know any schools that are in need of this program, definitely message me, hit me up on the personal, and we'll reach out to them. We are Frequency of Learning. It's a new thing that we're building just for the children, man, just for education. So these are just some of the things behind the scenes, you know. Meanwhile, this whole, you know, drop gotta be dropped, right? So it's a lot going on, but I love y'all, and I just want y'all to know that, you know what I'm saying, we got a small team. And we're working, you know what I mean, for the greater, you know what I mean, and nothing's more important than the drop. Because once you got the drop, you know who your creator is, then you can be aligned. You know what I'm saying? Once you got the drop, you understand what the information is, then you could be aligned. Once you got the drop, you understand what your orientation is, then you could be aligned. You know what I mean? Whatever it is. So vibe with us, man. We're going to just, you know, explore. So let's get into it. Because y'all know I could just go. You didn't say, I didn't come here for you to talk about the drop and all kind of personal endeavors. I came to hear this 100% cold turkey, man. So let's get it. Get back. You got the link. You remember this joint? We're going to chapter 1. We did the preface last time. I'm just going to go straight through it because we got a lot to do. So scroll to chapter 1. If you pull it up, hopefully you do, because you got to read for yourself at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like the homie Harem Art says, you know what I'm saying? I can only bring you to the water. I can't make you drink it, man. You can't make you drink. Shout out to the Kings, man. Rah the Great, Political Mike, Silas Nehemiah, D. Will. You know what I'm saying? You know, all the team, man. I can't wait to be back live with these fellas coming at y'all on a regular basis again. So here we go. I'm just stalling while I find chapter 1, if you don't mind. Hope y'all having a good day, though, or a good night, whatever it is, too. All right, chapter 1. All right, here we go. Chapter 1, General Introduction. Natural regions of America, ancient and modern nations, historical periods. Since our globe is better known, we know we're not on the globe, right? But, all right, I'm not gonna do it. I'm just gonna read. All right. It is no longer divided into 4 continents, but must be divided into 3 greater parts of the world. Our tholomeres, each containing 3 lesser divisions or geotomes. All right, these are big words. Y'all got to bear with me. Hopefully y'all reading this yourselves so you know. All right, so we got 1 Pratiogia and Tholarkan, the ancient world containing Asia, Africa, and Europe, which are continents. So whatever these words are, you can look them up yourself. But Protialia and Tholarkan, these are what they're considering. The ancient world is divided into 3 divisions. So one of them they're saying is Asia, Africa, and Europe. Another one, Neotholia or Hesperia, the new world. All right, so this is Hesperia. You know, these all these crazy words, these people, these abstract-minded folks. They're just trying to define you and your heritage and your land. Remember that. The new world containing Italia or North America, Italia. This you keep saying even Astland. You see Atlantis all over this place, man. You see Atlantis hidden in so many of these words, you know what I'm saying? So more and more, you know what I'm saying? And I got a little more drop on that, hopefully as a bonus. But this is just what they're calling things, you know what I'm saying? A lot of our roots, you know, we're really digging into this information. So, yeah. Italia, Atalia, or North America. Colombia, South America, which are 2 continents. And 3, the Antilles, or West Indies. The archipelagos to the east or north, Carib. All right, so we got one world, one third would be Europe, Asia, and Africa. 1/3, all right, you got the Americas, islands. And the other third is Oceania, or Tholonasia, the oceanic or insular world containing Australia, which is a continent, Meganesia, or the greater islands from Japan, Madagascar, Polynesia. So they're clustering that into another part. Okay. So therefore, the terrestrial world includes 6 continents and 3 groups of archipelagos, forming 9 geotones. It is of Neotholia that I write the history of this third world name likewise. So now we're getting into America, or the 2 Americas, a double continent crowned in the east and towards the 2 poles by archipelagos. All right, so here we go. Such an extensive part of the world reaching nearly to both poles offers to our notice and researches a crowd of objects, nations, and events. If our universal histories, which are confined to a small part only of the old world, form already bulky collections, it would be equally so with America if we had complete annals of it. But notwithstanding, so they don't have all the history, they don't have all the annals, all right? But notwithstanding the scanty materials which have been reached us on its ancient history, the modern annals and the old traditions of the nations dwelling there afford many facts, and many auxiliary means contribute to enlarge the previous history in unfolding the origins and revolutions of the nations and empires of both Americas. Thus, we shall often have to make a choice or abridge these materials, particularly in these outlines of general history. Formerly, historians wrote chiefly chronicles of the empires, kingdoms, and republic, which were often mere biographies or monarchs and chiefs, conquerors, and tyrants. We begin now to think more of mankind and the nations. I shall follow this principle and trace at least a national history of America. This subject is so new that we have not even yet a good history of mankind in Europe, much less in Asia and Africa. Having dwelt in this continent since having settled in it since 1815, and having traveled in it every year to study the monuments and productions thereof, it was since 1818 that I began to conceive the possibility of raising the veil that was thrown over the annals of this third of the world. So, you know, he's admitting too that they don't even have all the drop of us in Asia, Africa, anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, this is new, but he's still saying that they still don't have all the drop there either. You know what I'm saying? That's what he was saying before. Like, you know, if we knew more about the brown races of Africa, and he used brown races, you know what I'm saying? And that's, you know, I've never seen brown races of Africa ever written out like that. So interesting to look at that. All right. Especially with all this, you know, copper color stuff, you know what I'm saying? So we know that we are everywhere. We know that we're indigenous everywhere. We know that we're tribes. But let's go. Okay. All right. You good? We good. I have visited the public libraries of Washington, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, Albany, Lexington, etc. to consult all the historical works of America and every other part of the world. I have read nearly all the travels in America and other distant countries. In the Ebeling Library, deposited in that of Cambridge University near Boston, I have found many ancient works on America, often unique in the United States and very rare even in Europe. There is but a small number of rare works which I have not yet been able to see. I shall give a list of them in order that it may be ascertained whether they contain facts that have escaped me. My researches upon the languages and monuments of America will compensate this unavoidable neglect, since they exceed whatever had been undertaken of the kind. I have thus endeavored to collect and compare all the facts relating to my subject. I have not imitated, therefore, the lazy writers who have pretended to give us histories of America. So everybody been trying to give us history of America. He's calling them lazy. I'm going to get all the way in it. It's 1836. 1836, and he's like, man, I'm a dig deep. Nobody knows anything. We just have scanty history. I want to know more about these brown, copper-colored people that we murdered 95% of. Let's look into it now that we've damn near made them extinct. Okay. So he's calling them all a crowd of imitators and compilers. So he starts getting at the specific writers. We'll skip down a little bit. He's going through backgrounds of historians and his method and all this kind of stuff. So let me just go ahead. All right, so the Neotholian hemisphere contains many distinct regions, but the natural or physical regions are not always identical with the historical regions. The Isthmus of Panama or Valley of Chaco does not divide the nation as it does the two continents of America, and many groups of nations are intermingled throughout. The group of ancient Aru, Aru, A-R-U, nations extend from near Florida through the Antilles, Guyana, Brazil to Tucumán, and Magellania. The elder group of Tala, Tula, or Atlantic nations, Atlantic nations, could be traced from the Ohio to Mexico. All right, so we got all that. Guatemala and South America in the west. Notwithstanding this fact, it is useful to keep in mind that the great natural regions of America, so as to trace through them the vicissitudes of mankind in ancient and modern times. Thus we find 6 such regions in North America and 6 in South America, with 3 in the Antilles. All right, so I'm just gonna kind of go down a little bit because he's just going specific until like, there's a volcano here and there's coral formations here. This region of Brazil is distinguished by fertile hills, so you can read more on that. I'm skipping ahead some of the geography. I want to get to some of the meat. All right. It says, meantime, the population of both Americas must be distinguished in ancient and modern. In proceeding from the known to the unknown, we ascertain that a multitude of nations have come to America since 1492 as colonists or visitors. The principal were, 1, the Spanish, who have colonized or conquered from New Mexico to Chile, and from Florida to Buenos Aires. But they came not alone, and they have brought along with them auxiliaries, Italians, Flemish, Biscayans, Canaries, while as slaves, Moors of Mauritania, and many African Negro nations. So he's saying the Spanish brought with them all these people, Italians and Canarians. They brought some Moors with them, So, all right, you got African Negro nations. So he's saying people, our family that's indigenous to Africa, Moors, etc., came with the Spanish, some of them, Now the Portuguese, all right, so it's the second group. Portuguese came over. They colonized the whole Brazil and brought there besides many Negro nations, some Moors, Gypsies, Chinese. All right, so these people were bringing people with them even over here. All right, so this is not the same narrative as him saying, oh, we took a million of y'all from Africa and did this. He's saying, man, they had some scattered slaves, all over the place, but no one said they were bringing 400 with thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of ships, totaling millions and millions and millions and millions of people. This might have been 50 people on this boat, 25 people on that boat. So let's not blow it out of control. But now we understand that when they came over here, they had their own little party and posse and people that came with them. It wasn't like, oh, here's a boat from Africa. No, Italians, whatever, Flemish, Biscaynian, Canarian, this all, they had slaves all over the place. Slavery, people had slaves. What they did with chattel slavery was on a whole nother level. The brutality that they showed our indigenous nations here, man, that's a whole nother thing. You can classify slavery and servitude, you know what I'm saying? You can buy your way in and out of it. The old days, this is chattel slavery. This is a beast form of what went down. Straight genocide, you know what I'm saying? So, all right, so then you have the English. You have the Spanish, the Portuguese. You have the English, who have colonized the whole eastern side of North America, Jamaica, and other islands of the Antilles, with parts of Yucatan, Honduras, Guyana, etc. But they have brought with them the Welsh, Scot, Irish, Germans, it says Jews, all right, and many African nations. So, of course, you're probably talking about Khazars and many African nations. So, they didn't bring them all as slaves. They just brought them with them. Just because they came with them doesn't mean they came as slaves. Some were slaves. Some had slaves. You know what I'm saying? So you have here's the main groups: the Spanish, the Portuguese, the English, the French. All right, so they colonized Canada, Louisiana, Haiti, several Caribbean islands. They brought with them, you know what I'm saying, a bunch of people. So I'll just read the main groups. You have the French. Let's go back to the top. Spanish, Portuguese, English, French, Scandinavians, Dutch, Hollanders, Russians. Besides these, several other nations have laterly visited America or settled therein, blending, all that. So, he's still in kind of intro mode, giving us some background drop on that. So let me get to a good spot. All right. All right. In my Atlantic Journal of 1832 will be found a kind of classification of the ancient nations of both Americas, divided into 25 groups, 14 in the north, 11 in the south, South America. But this first attempt cannot be perfect. It requires a close study of all American languages before we could ascertain correctly all their mutual affinities and reduce each to their real parent group. All right? So it's not about just grouping and saying you're Negro, grouping and saying you're African. He's saying I need to know your parent group. I need to know who your fathers are. I need to know a little bit more so I can really say I know who you are. But he can't say I know who you are. So he's trying to use the, philology, study of language and different things along with the, geography and everything else. So we're going over the geography. He's going to get into languages as well. But he says, I give, therefore, the list of the 25 groups with a well-known nation and language as a type to which others may be gradually reduced. All right. So it's a list of 25, basically locations or tribes and, a language parent group. So there's a lot of stuff, I'm going to try to just cover as much as I can. But the intricate stuff you can look at. So that's 25. Check them out. The annals of South America, where many generalities will be introduced that need not be repeated in the second series. Let's skip down a little bit. The Peruvian and Austrian regions of South America will first be introduced because of paramount importance. By the Peruvian region is meant the whole western part of South America, from the equator to the southern tropic, and by Australia, or Austral America, the whole of it from that tropic to the Magellanic Islands. The Gulf of Rio Plata and the River Paraguay appear to divide these regions from Brazil, both physically and historically. Austral America includes the countries and nations of Chile, Tucumán, Chaco, Buenos Aires, Patagonia, and Magellania. Look these places up. You know what I'm saying? Some of them, they don't call them anymore like that, but you will find them. But it shall often be needful to mention their neighbors with whom they are more or less related, and even distinct nations that are not always strangers to them. The ancient nations of Australia are the least known on the many accounts, and those on whom most fables and systems have been based. So he's saying these particular ones are where all our fables come from. This is the part of America, this Austral America. These are their terminology. All right, you can get to the bottom of it, but I want to be basic. He's getting specific, but I'm bringing you back to a basic understanding. He's just talking about America. There's a reason I'm reading this to you. It's not so that you can just dissect all these locations and stuff like that. I just need you to understand the intricacy and the level of depth that these people have been going through since 1836, before that, after that, to get to the bottom of who you are, so that when they tell you today you're a Negro, you're black, you're African, if it was that easy, he just would have said that. He said everybody has given lazy attempts, and even in their lazy attempts, they didn't just say, oh, you're from Africa. They weren't that lazy. They knew you were a different people. They knew in Africa, they weren't calling themselves that. They had fathers and tribes and seeds. They knew, you know what I'm saying, who their fathers are. They understand their seed. Only here do we not understand our seed. And you got our brothers and sisters who know elsewhere, you know what I'm saying, in the world, looking at us like, these people y'all still don't know you're the indigenous people. We still got to fight people about that. You still got people saying, well, you know, your DNA is just African and you're European. You're getting these crazy comments. I mean, you know, I knew it would come, but, you know, I knew this information is choosy and touchy. And, you know what I'm saying? I signed up to drop it no matter what. You know what I'm saying? It's just a part of the whole. But you need to understand how deep they're going to hide what they know, and the ones that are trying to figure it out, how deep they went to figure out the little that they got. All right, so we're going to skip down. Okay, let's go to this introduction. It should say 27 on it. Hopefully you can see that. That's where I'm at right now. So try to find me there. Right. Autochtons. That was that word I was looking for. Autochtons. Yeah, man. If America has had an aboriginal population or autochtons, autochtons. I got it. All right, it's a no for me. Be patient. I don't know these things. If America has had an aboriginal population or autochtons, men born from the soil. All right, I have to do a lap after that, man. You just hear that? Yo, shout out to Let Us Find the Truth. Been dropping all the time to drop. Riddle me this, riddle me that, but I do understand what you're saying, man. Solomon, soul man, soul man. I got soul. I got soul. Right? I got soul. Outcast, me and you. Elevators. Think about this. He knows what I'm talking about. If America has had an aboriginal population, if this land has an aboriginal population, which, how can it not? You saying is, look, someone migrated to every part of Earth. Okay? Every part of Earth has been migrated to at some point in time. So the migrations, you know, but if America has had an aboriginal population or autochtons, men born from the soil, it is there they should be found. If America has had an aboriginal population or autochtons, men born from the soil, okay, check out that first paragraph, man. It is there they should be found. Not everybody is the same. Not everybody was born from soil. It's kind of a, you know what I'm saying? But let's go. Soul, man. I got soul. All right? You know what I'm talking about. Somebody out there gets it. Okay. Men born from the soil, it is there they should be found, driven to the south in those remote climates by the ancient colonies of other nations, and they should offer features, complexions, languages, manners totally different from any other. If all the Americans derive from ancient colonies, it is still there that ought to be found the primitive tribes driven on by the subsequent colonies and tribes. Therefore, these austral tribes in America are exceedingly interesting to study as the most ancient relics of American population. But the origin of the American nations and tribes are only to be considered as the branch of their history. The accounts of their dispersion and successive settlements, the history of the events which have been remembered and transmitted to us by traditions or annals, those of the empires which have been founded there in ancient and modern times, the study of their civilization, the ethnography, offers surely much more interest and a wide field of historical facts and inquiries. The more we dig, the more we find. The more interesting it is, you know what I'm saying? The more interesting you are. It appears that as soon as we speak of the ancient Americas, we ought to cut the Gordian knot and say whence they came. As soon as we speak of the ancient Americas, man, we should just cut that and say whence they came. I mean, we don't, when we bring it up, it's a long shot to really, they don't just say they clearly migrated out of Africa. Even in their textbooks, they're like, oh, everybody came out of Africa. Even white people say, well, we migrated out of Africa. Well, then why are they looking for their origin all over the world? All right? If the so-called white person could find their origin in Africa, then they wouldn't be looking anywhere else. And if they could find our origin, these specific, whatever you want to call them, haplo groups or people or tribes, the peoples, autochtons, you know what I'm saying, indigenous people. Let's not be fancy. Let's keep it simple. Then they would have easily said, all right, we tracing y'all all the way through Africa. But how can these millions of people, remember they slaughtered over 300 million. And I'll read that book, I'll start intertwining that with this, 'cause I want to get back to that. The American Genocide by Don Standard. You can check out that video I did of just the intro of that. It was amazing, but I want to build this up and go back to it. So when I read it and you understand the descriptions of what Cortez and these people were seeing, when you see, I want you to know they're talking about you. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, in the 1500s in Mexico, okay? For real. So it appears as soon as we speak of the ancient Americans, we ought to cut the Gordian knot and say whence they came. I do not wish to explain beforehand all my views on this subject. I wish to reserve them for the results of the inquiries to be pursued in this work. Yet, to satisfy the general curiosity expressed on the subject, I may venture to say that I have not yet found in either Americas, any people or tribe totally different from any other, or without philological affinities, meaning the language affinities. So he's saying, according to his research, all these tribes got something in common with each other. Specifically, he's not finding the language connections to Africa or anywhere else. He's not finding these other connections right away, but he's saying what I can venture to say, just to satisfy your curiosity, is that these people got something in common with each other. Well, thank you. Thank you. We have something in common. All right, we're getting there. All right. So I might venture to say these people have, I found in America, are not totally different from each other without philological affinities, nor with features, complexions, and other physical characteristics quite peculiar. All right. So their peculiar characteristics, they all kind of have in common as well. But instead, all the ancient American tribes have numerous affinities between each other and races, and with races of mankind in the Eastern Hemisphere, both physical and moral, as well as philological. All right, so he says Eastern Hemisphere. Okay, so all right, so he said, yeah, okay, I'm going with you, right? So let's read what he's saying. But instead, all the ancient American tribes have numerous affinities between each other. So everybody has something in common, and with races of mankind in the Eastern Hemisphere. With races of, just look at the wording, with races of mankind in the Eastern Hemisphere. So, he's not bringing you to a country. He gave you a whole hemisphere. Yeah, you got something in common with some of these people in this hemisphere. He didn't make it specific. Remember, he still thinks, when you go back to the preface, that he can link us to Central Asia. So Central Asia is the Eastern hemisphere. Now, whatever his theory or thesis or hypothesis, that's what a lot of them feel like. We come from Central Asia, Afro-Asiatics, all that stuff like that. So that's nothing new. He's trying to do it, but without being lazy like the other guys. You know what I'm saying? Yet he's saying, I have no clue. But I'll venture to say that maybe. All right, so if the American nation sprung from ancient colonies, it is, wait, let me go. Eastern Hemisphere, both physical and moral, as well as philological. If the American nation sprung from ancient colonies, he's not saying y'all came from ancient colonies in the Eastern Hemisphere, period. Obviously, right? He's saying, I don't know where you came from. You do kind of link up with some traits over here too. But now he's saying, if the American nation sprung from ancient colonies, it is among the primitive population of the earth that their parents must be sought and found, since America appears to have been partly peopled even before the flood. So if you had people here before the flood, and they all look the same, and they all kind of got the same type of language, and he's like, yeah, it definitely, people were here before the flood. Then how can we today call ourselves African American? Are we starting to get the gist of how silly that is now that we're not laymen? And in academia, that is absolute hogwash. He's trying to link us somewhere in the Eastern Hemisphere. He's saying, if American nation sprung from ancient colonies, it is among the primitive population on earth that their parents must be sought and found. We got to find this parent nation among some primitive population somewhere on earth. So now we're narrowing it down to earth. I want you to understand this. I'm not saying listen to this man's facts and take his facts. I'm just saying listen to how he's explaining you. I'm only reading that, and I'll keep reminding you that I'm not just trying to kick something so you can say, oh man, look at all these facts. You got the doc. So you can look it up. You know where I'm at. Okay? You know where I'm at. You can look it up and you can say, hey man, well, why is he putting it like that? Is it that hard to explain me? Because they made it real easy all my life. They just said I'm from Africa. But my dad never said that. He just said, He's from California. His dad's from Louisiana, or that territory. My mom, South Carolina. You know what I'm saying? That's all we know. If that's all you know, that means you got to be from here. Because if you had somebody in your family that came from anywhere else, wouldn't you know? I mean, oh yeah, grandma came from, you know what I'm saying, Zimbabwe. My great grandpa, is from Chad. That's kind of easy to get that passed down. It's only a couple generations. Like, no one's hiding that. If you come from Chad or you come from such and such, you know what I'm saying? But this stuff is recent, is what we're saying. In the 1800s, they were still calling you Indians. All right? Then you went Negro and colored, I think back to Negro. Then you went black, however it went. And then you got the African American in the 1970s. Shout out to Jesse Jackson. Coined it, patented phrase. So when you call yourself African American, that is a patent and coined phrase title owned by the corporation itself. So you are admitting to be property. When you call yourself black, you ain't calling yourself nothing. You got no land ties and nothing. Like Lex will kick. Negro will kind of get you, closer to legally being able to claim stuff. But man, straight up, this is how they view you. They're trying to figure it out. Since America appears to have been partly populated even before the flood, which means that the theory of things going down here in biblical times starts to make sense. If it was peopled before the flood. Okay? And if you were here before the flood, how can somebody come to you today after you know you've been here? Maybe before the flood, maybe migrating after that, but you've been here, and then say, you're African. There's nothing wrong with being from that body or that beautiful energy on this beautiful earth. It's one body. Remember, I'm not separating it. They are. I'm calling you indigenous. They're the ones that have all these titles. They're the one that's called us this. But common sense tells us that if they're going to group us suddenly together as Negro, the first thing per survival we got to do is ungroup what they did. It doesn't mean we're ungrouping out of hate and spite. What do you mean you ain't black? What's black? Black phone? Black Benz? You don't say, oh man, that's a nice black car. That's a nice black hat. I'm black. You see what I'm saying? Psychology. So African Americans property. And they're saying you might have been here before the flood. Okay, so therefore, the systems which would derive them all from the Phoenicians, Jews, Chinese, Tartars, and later ages, or any single people whatever, must be absurd and improbable, since traces of many ancient nations are found in this Western Hemisphere. I'll read that again. Therefore, the systems which would derive them all from the Phoenicians, Jews, Chinese, Tartars, and later ages, or any single people whatever, must be absurd and improbable, since traces of many ancient nations are found in this Western Hemisphere. All right? This is how they're wording it. I know it sounds all over the place, but if you are already here and all these traces are already found here, then it's hogwash just to say that, oh, well, you're this and you're that, and you got to be this or you're that. If they're finding all of these things here, which is what some people say, hey, man, whatever this land was connected to, whether you call it Lemuria, you call it Atlantis, if it's sandwiched like that map I showed, I'll try to put that back up for y'all so you can kind of get it again. You know what I'm saying? Some say, hey, well, the Hindus, you know what I'm saying, whatever the case, and, certain of dark races came from Lemuria, Mu. Maybe the Moors came from Lemuria. Maybe, you know what I'm saying, these other cats came from this other land they called Atlantis. And, all these wars were going on and spiritual powers and stuff. Two great lands get sunk, and all you're left with is South America, Africa. So separate from one another after the flood, right? we start to put this up and like, man, maybe that wasn't 80,000 years ago. Maybe that was a little more recent. Maybe it hasn't been separated for that long. Maybe all this, million-year-old this and million-year-old that. Because if you knew it was recent, it would connect to you more. You got to think like they think. If they make it some ancient thing that you can't connect to, then you can't connect to it. You're like, oh, well, that was a million years ago. But if they say, hey, it was maybe 6,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, it gets closer and closer. You're like, oh, snap. So this is lining up. I can now put this together. You know what I'm saying? I can now, and that's when it gets like kind of freaky. Like, man, this is all I'm living it right now. It hasn't been thousands, hundreds of thousands of years and nothing like that. So we're trying. It has always appeared probable to me that most of the ancient colonies to America must have come there by the nearest and most direct way. The same nearly followed again by Columbus in 1492, either from North Africa or South Europe. This becomes still more probable if there were formerly a land or large islands in the Atlantic Ocean. Formerly a land or large islands in the Atlantic Ocean? We just talked about Lemuria and Atlantis. Look, it keeps coming up. It seems like fable. But I was on Google Earth the other day, and it's almost like you can almost see a landmass underneath the Atlantic Ocean that separates America and Africa. Maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me, but and based on the fable of Atlantis, you know what I'm saying, when that land was sunken, that's when the waters became hard to navigate, or almost impossible for a while to navigate. So it was like a wall, a sea, a partition that was separating us. And Columbus, came at the time. He was the first after that, to get over those super duper rough waters. And again, the Navy today doesn't take those routes. So to think that they brought millions of us over there taking the roughest waters that were damn near not even navigable. But that's how we all got here. And when they're saying that we find this place might have been people before the flood, but the first thing they want to do is tell you in history class you came from Africa. Case in point. And as soon as you say you don't, your own people look, what are you trying to say? I'm trying to say you're brainwashed. I'm trying to say you're triggered. I'm trying to say you've been inception. And the minute someone says they're not from Africa, you go crazy. Like that has to be the whole picture. You don't see the whole earth because they've focused on Egypt and Africa, Egypt. They've made it shiny. They made it new. They made it fly. We know it was, all the splendor and grandeur, and what I'm saying? But they made it fly in your mind with the movies and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? To where that's all you can see yourself going back to in the civilization. I see it. You don't have to prove it, right? It's right there. Look at my, Pharaoh such and such is in the museum. And I'm like, that's not a good look. What higher power lets a pharaoh or a patriarch like that just be put on display? That means you've been colonized and conquered. Here's your pharaoh. So I don't feel good about that. And I don't think I'm Egyptian, knowing that I come from here, even though Egypt is also here too. Gotta research the Grand Canyon. It's gonna blow your mind. Then when you look at the Grand Canyon, it just looks like rolling castles and pyramids and hills. That was all a thriving Egypt. And whatever else, you know what I'm saying? But shout out to Horace Butler, because he'll lace that out. So you got Egypt there, you got Egypt here, you got Jerusalem here, there. You know what I'm saying? You got Perusalem here. Remember, you drop that J, it's Jerusalem. You drop that P, it's Jerusalem. You don't pronounce the P. You don't pronounce the J. The J is new anyway, right? So you got Jerusalem here, Egypt there, Egypt there, even though they didn't call it Egypt either, right? Getting over these titles is unlearning that. It's the first. And you break down, that's the psychology, that's the sorcery of it. Drop the titles, just call it land. Land over here, land over there. Oh, you're from land over here? Oh, I'm from land over there. See how easy that is? It's the same land. It used to be together. But the people over here that were nearly extinct and exterminated 300 million, 95% of them were exterminated on this land and never stopped fighting. Columbus said, I'm coming to seize the holy city. In Mount Zion, you got Peru, Mexico. What they do, Peru, Mexico. Peru is always attached to Mexico. Mayan, you know what I'm saying? Aztec. Migrations. These peculiar people. Nomads, right? Killing off Canaanites on the land. This is your history here. Egypt. All that. Here. Flood, giants, whatever you want to call it. Stories, fables, here. We don't see all the land anymore. So you don't try to act like you got the whole picture if you can't even see the whole land. Especially if you think you're spinning. It's a wrap. It's a wrap. Because they standing still looking at you with their private maps. Saying, yeah, he ain't gonna get it. He think he's spinning. Alright. Alright. We're almost getting through it. Let's see how far we got. Man, bit off more than I could chew. Man, I bit off more than I could chew. Alright, we're skipping down. We have to. It's a lot of meat. And unfortunately, to get through this, I do got to skip some good stuff, unfortunately. But let's do it. Okay. It is only... Alright, cool. It's only since the last age, this is where I'm at right now, right above that introduction, 31. Okay, so we're getting through it. I mean, it's a long manuscript. I don't know if we're going to get to the whole thing, but I do want to at least set it up so that when I get to the other books that I'm about to drop, you know what I'm saying, we can at least understand some of the background information of these particular researchers and scholars that are trying to put us together so we can understand in our bones, in our sinew, in our ruach, that when they try to group us, it's a game. We have our power when we know who we are, not when we're blind into some black hole of being black and some power of black. We have power knowing who we are, and anybody getting in the way is your enemy until they wake up and say, you know what? Let me help revive you. Now I understand the people here were you and are you. That we need melanated people there and here. Okay? Even if you said, yeah, okay, y'all, you know, the people of the Americas, the 300 million people they slaughtered here, they all came from Africa. Okay. Then I say, one, why isn't Africa asking for reparations for the 300 million slaughtered of their people? No country saying, hey, y'all owe me something on this. You slaughtered 300 million of my people. And two, if we all came out of Africa, don't we still have an inheritance outside of that? Then who is supposed to inherit the Western Hemisphere? I'm talking about a birthright. I'm talking about inheritance, and I'm talking about order. I'm not saying go anywhere you want, because you know that's not reality. You know, even if you've been programmed today to have a passport and go wherever you want, you know that this is a corporation, it's an illusion, and it's run by kingdoms that is not indigenous to this earth. So once we get back into reality, out the illusion of this trickery, and again, you take your 1,000 brothers and you say, I'm going to live wherever I want, and you go on to some other melanated person's land, and they're fighting for their own resources, and they look at you, and you say, I'm indigenous, man. Hey, I want to be in the Congo. Are you going to be straight? Not by yourself, but you want your tribe to be with you, right? They're going to ask who you are. They're going to ask who's your father. They're going to ask, are you from here? Specifically this land? I'm not saying Angola. I'm not saying Nigeria. Are you from Chad? You took your 1,000 group war machine, your tribe, and you went to Chad. from America, from Chicago, from Illinois, from Ohio, from Inglewood, you went to Chad with your 1,000 people in the real world, how would that go down? Oh, my brothers, welcome. If it was that brother, welcome, welcome, you'll be hearing that right now. They would say, please, black people, Americans, come to Chad. But they know you're American. They know you're indigenous here. They know that history. Most of them. They know. They know where their land is, who their fathers are, who your fathers are, and where your land is. No one's cool with a nomadic tribe coming in. I don't care what they look like. And I showed you those images with the Pope video. Check that out. You know what I'm saying? When you saw very dark people ruling Europe, the King of Portugal, Spain, the King of Spain, you know what I'm saying, and all the dignitaries of Portugal, all the, high, admirals and all that kind of stuff. And how these were the folks that were claiming the lands of South America, Brazil, and they were just brothers. You would see them dark, whatever version of a brother, that's what you would see. And you would say, my brother, and they were chopping you up, taking your babies and bashing. Now, I'm not trying to cause division. I'm just saying that's what happened. That's reality. So your blackness or your melanin or your indigenousness did not count. In history, facts. It's not enough to have melanin and be safe. Because if you go against a different tribe, a different energy that is your enemy by birthright, by history of wars between your nation and their nation. I mean, it's tribal war. And you see how they're going into such detail to make it specific. And none of it is just an open shut case at all. You know what I'm saying? Towards that. But I'm just saying, where is your people supposed to inhabit? Once you drop the Africa title, which is fictitious, America, all these titles, and you get back into your tribes, then you can say, I'm on this land. This is my inheritance. Cool. And he's like, yeah, man, my family's from Africa, in Africa, have been in Africa. My brother, will you hold it down over there? I'll hold it down on the Western Hemisphere. And when it's time to link up against foreign entities, then we can rock. But if you over there and you trying to pull the wool over our eyes so that we don't wake up, so that you can continue to be on our land while we're asleep, you're not helping us wake up to recover anything. Maybe out of fear, some guilty pleasure, some type of fear, that we'll wake up and be like, I remember. It wasn't all that sweet. And doesn't that shake the whole foundation? I don't care if you, whatever color. Then you're like, well, my family didn't do anything to yours, and all this guilt stuff starts coming out. So everybody would rather you be asleep. So whatever the opinions and emotions are, I'm talking to Black, Negro, Americans. I'm talking to our people that are spread throughout the world that know. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking to really everybody outside of it as well, but I have to address and be clear that this is the information, I'm dropping it on my folks. Because somebody got to. Everything can't be for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes my drop would just be whatever. This drop is for you. This drop is for the youngster. Sitting over there, man, on Crenshaw Boulevard, got his headphones in, on the Shaw, trying to figure it out. Yeah, black man. Everybody keeps telling you something else, man. Download this doc and read it. And then it's love. We didn't come for peace. Our Creator's not coming back for peace. That's a fable. He's coming back for blood. I ain't gotta be preachy, but our Creator's coming back for blood. Once you understand what happened to his people here, He's coming back, man, to make it right. We don't got to do nothing but persist. And if it goes down or it gets down, we got to figure out a group together and go somewhere else. Because we've always had to do that. And we got to do that until, you know what I'm saying, it's time to have peace. But some fake notion of peace to say, well, it's just peace. It ain't going to be peace until there's recompense. It ain't going to be peace until there's real restitution. When you get it all back and more and interest on top. You know what I'm saying? But we don't have to physically wild out and do none of that. We just have to physically be focused. You know what I'm saying? We have to want to connect back to our source without anything coming in between that. And we have to want, you know what I'm saying, to continue to build and know who we are. Then we can have love. But we have to love each other first. We can't love the whole world without loving each other first, right? Some people twist that and say, well, what about everybody else? And what about, damn, man, why does it always got to be about everybody else? It wasn't about everybody else when we was getting our asses kicked over here. Nobody was hollering about, what about us when we were getting, you know what I'm saying, lynched and mutilated, crucified, put in frying pans, limb for limb, chopped off. I mean, we are descendants of the children that survived. Damn near all of the chiefs and princes and elders were just, because they couldn't change these people. They couldn't make those people slaves. Those people never surrendered. So only the children didn't know what to do, right? Only the children did their best. That's the 5%. For the most part, that's the 5%. When you look at even the slave logs that say, okay, all these people came from here and here. You got to check all that stuff to the fullest, man. They've gone all out with this narrative. You know what I'm saying? They've gone all out. But even with that stuff, you see that the ages are typically very young. You don't see a bunch of grown-ass people. You see a bunch of young children, 12-year-old, 8 years old, 14, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. All right? So let's get to it. I'm just trying to highlight certain parts in each chapter. That's the best I can do because it's so long. But I'm glad to at least be able to give you the doc to figure it out. We are at an hour, so I will be wrapping it up. It says, I'm right here. Let me get this. Same place. I'm going down to that second paragraph where it starts at Asia. Okay, let's get it. Asia has been the country of fables, Africa of monsters, and America of systems for those who prefer opinions to reality. All right, so that's just, people go, what do you mean Africa monster? He's saying for those that prefer opinions to reality. So he's not actually saying that, but that is that's what they hear. In Europe, that's what they hear. So they say Asia, ooh, all the crazy fables that went down. Africa, ooh, the monsters. America, the systems, whatever that means. I guess that means like spiritual system. For those who prefer opinions to reality, the systems and hypothesis of philosophy or ignorance upon America exceed all the Asiatic fables. A crowd of prejudices, false opinions, and fantastic theories have been asserted on this hemisphere, often mistaking a small part of it for the whole. So they might find something in the small part and say, everybody's like this. They came over here, saw whatever savagery that they found and said, all the Aztecs were savages. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happened. And they had to paint that picture to the Pope so he can do his dumb diverses 1452 and say, subjugate the Saracens and pagans and enemies of Christ. Because you're savages. But then they come over here and find all this high-minded, high-living people. They said the Aztecs wore all white. All these savages that dressed in all white. We're going to read that book again so you understand what we're talking about. They were looking around like, they saw our cities. These conquistadors, back in that book, American Holocaust, definitely get it. They said that they estimate that over 1,000 men are hired to clean the streets a day. That's how clean it was. They said we have to actually take the time out to jot this down to let you know that we've never seen anything as clean and pristine as this. These people were white. It was like some angelic thing from them. That's why Cortez said, you know, I had to remind my soldiers that they were not in a dream. I can't wait to get back to that book, because they thought they were dreaming when they found you. You know what I'm saying? And for those that understand, you know what I'm saying, the curses of Israel and all that, even in our punishment, even in our low-mindedness, in 1500, they still had to come seize the holy city, which means we were still rocking the holy city. They had to seize it in the 1500s, and according to them, it took 8 months to seize. So an 8-month full-out war with your family members protecting the holy city in 1500. Did you read about that in school? Did they tell you the Gola Wars and all the wars that you were a part of, but you heard everybody else's war, and that some black people had to fight in the Civil War, and the slave. All that was about making slavery pop off even more. Definitely check out that document for the Pope, because he's going to break it all down, the previous drop. You know, that stuff, it's been mercenary stuff, man. And they've left their mercenaries. The Spaniards left for the most part. The Portuguese, for the most part, left. But they left their mercenaries to watch over their merchandise. Now the Pope wants his merchandise back. He's not here to help nobody. Not us. Impossible. Why now? You wrote for them to subjugate us into perpetual servitude. You never apologized to me about that. You murdered all my family. You come in peace. We know it's war. And it's always going to be war till our Creator restores us. But we know our energy. We know that being a tribe again, got to check out that Lex Will drop with the governor saying the 4 things that, you know what I'm saying, he's most afraid of. He said, number 1, this is a recent, I guess, press conference or interview private to the rest of the armed services. And it was the corporate, or, you know, I forgot whoever it was, whatever general. He's talking to his armed services. He said, well, number 4 is the 4 things that you gotta fear the worst. And in my personal experience, you should be a little concerned about this in 2016 going on. Number 4 was what was it? He said terrorists. Oh, terrorists. Man, that's the trigger word. Ooh. Of course, we understand that they fund and create these things to push their agenda, so they're not really afraid of terrorism if they're doing it. The second one, or number 3 on this list going up, is hybrid army. He said, I fear a hybrid army. Hybrid army. That means half man, half machine, all kind of things. I don't know. Number 2, he actually said little green men. You gotta check it out. Go to Lex Will's page, subscribe, check it out. A lot of drop there. Also subscribe to, you know, Smooth's Perspective. He's kicking a lot of drop, Columbus drop. He got that encyclopedia out, kicking it straight up, man. You gotta appreciate the, you know what I'm saying, spirit of truth in that cat, man. Power to you, man. Peace and power, man. N.W. Smith, Harem Art. Always give these guys much love. Michael Thompson, Copper Warrior as well. Let us find the truth. The Original American. Tyrone Street. More and more, man. More and more. You know what I'm saying? More and more. You know, and it's just nothing but cash. Just drop and drop. Not trying to claim to be something else and this. Not trying to argue with nobody. Just saying, hey, look this up. Here's this book. So let's get to it. Finish it out. So Africa has been the country of fables. Asia has been the country of fables. Africa of monsters. America of systems for those who prefer opinions to reality. The systems and hypothesis of philosophy or ignorance upon America exceed all the Asiatic fables. A crowd of prejudices, false opinions, and fantastic theories have been asserted on this hemisphere, often mistaking a small part of it for the whole. Some have declared all the Americas a red, beardless, naked, and barbarous race. Now we know when they say red, they mean brown. That's their little ruddy trick. That's their ruddy. All right. But he'll break that down to you. When you dig in on it, he'll make that perfectly clear. All right, almost there. So some would say that, or a peculiar species of men. They're calling you a whole nother species, not even a whole nother race. We're talking about, is there more than one dark race? Yeah. No shit, there's a lot of dark races. There's a lot of dark races of people. And yeah, we can come together and form a dark master race. But first you have to understand who's your race, who's your race, who's your race. And then we say, all right, I respect that. We are indigenous to the earth. But your race is indigenous to this land by order. Divine right in order to be there. Or else you won't be there. Believe that. That's why I said, can you just go anywhere you want? By yourself, I'm saying as a nation, can you just, I'm going to go wherever I want. Africa just is going to, love me. Don't forget how special the jewels are that are for you. Before you run off and start grabbing everybody else's jewels because of your insecurity and blindness to yourself. You don't need to take anybody else's jewels or land. You got your land. And then again, if it's not yours, whose is it? No matter where people think we came from. Again, we can come straight out of Africa. But we have been here for thousands of years. You know what I mean? We have put it in here. I go back, I don't know how many relatives here. And according to, a structure that I personally rock with, we have inheritance by a divine creator. And that's my personal rock. You got your anchor, get with it. But it's very important to understand it that way, because you got to understand, Egypt was there by divine right. There were other dark people there before them. Once you start to peel those layers down, everybody migrates with divine right. If they don't have divine right, whether they're Israel or not, everybody belongs to the frequency of the Most High, so he's going to put you where you're supposed to be. If you're out of order as a nation, he will cut you down. And all these great nations, I don't care what we're talking about, they've all been cut down. No matter what God they said that there was greater, the sun or the this or the moon or the this, all of them cut down. No one's paying attention to the fact that everyone's been cut down, and the ones that are ruling over us now is on some other shit. You know what I'm saying? So if it's all been cut down as a fact, then trying to hustle back into some, well, let me get to this spiritual system and worship this and worship. That's why you've been cut down. That's why you're here. Getting the drop, building the frequency brick by brick. Because now we're playing for keeps. It's not about being right. It's about being righteous. And being righteous, it starts with a decision to, accept your higher self, man. Accept your responsibility to this earth. People are waiting for you to claim that. I had a great conversation today. I don't know the gentleman's name. I'm not even going to say it. He's in Japan. He just shouted out, man. He said, hey, I want to be able to, I wonder if I can pull it up right quick, because it's really dope. But I do want to give him that prop. 1 second. But, it was just touching, man. You know what I'm saying? Because he had that right ruach. He's like, I want to do whatever it takes, man, to, help y'all get y'all land back, man. And I'm learning. And I appreciate the drop. You know what I mean? And that's all we can do. Because it might be a thousand things, 1,000 drops within the drop. But if it's just one drop that we can all appreciate, then we can rock with that. That's the frequency of this platform. It's not the one thing you don't agree with that you want to highlight to take over the entire 99.99% of the drop. Unless that was the whole point to the drop. You know what I'm saying? So, that's the energy, man, that anyone out there, anyone that's just kind of on the fence, that's the energy you want to try to thrive for, because this is just information. So what's the worst that you're going to get out of it but research and more information, even if it leads you on another path? At least you can be open to the information. Man, let me just kick this right quick, and then I'll wrap it up, man. You know, get out your hair. Stop bothering you good people. Stop messing with your day. I know you got things to do. You're probably in the car, got your earphones, and you're like, hurry up, man. I need to get my espresso. I need one more brew. He said, you know, he had some questions. You know, I don't want to say his name, but you know who you are. I'm going to call you KM. You know what I mean? You good with me. You all right with me. We had a great conversation today. And, you know, he came humble. He just said, you know, I'm Japanese, 46 years old. Old man. You're not that old, brother. You know, I'm 36. Have been studying what's going on in the world. Not a religious person, but found out that I can't ignore the contents in the Bible to figure out this situation. Even if you don't rock with the Biblios, but you can get in that Tanakh, that Torah, or, you know what I'm saying, find the scrolls or find something that can help put this together, because you're going to need it to put together a lot of this vital information, but you're going to have to sort through it the right way. It can't be how you were taught it. You're going to have to just, you know, step out there and say, what if this is going on here? Or what if this is this, and what if that is that? You know what I'm saying? You don't what if the commandments. You don't what if the creator. But as we try to figure out our locations and where we should be and how we, you know, that's the wisdom that's coming out right now. So I am Japanese, 46-year-old. I've been studying what's going on in the world, not religious, but found out that I can't ignore the contents in the Bible to figure out the situation. I saw your latest video and have a question, if I may ask you. Is this still a war between Isaac and Esau then? I want to see the Israelites be united to influence others like myself to reject this corporation world to be truly free again. They're waiting on your ass. You being stubborn, kicking and doing your thing, taking your time, and you got people waking up in Japan saying, you know, they got Fukushima, they got radiation going on. I mean, it's going down everywhere. Everyone's sort of forced to be like, man, I need to think higher because they're destroying us. Everyone's being destroyed. He said, I saw your latest video and have a question to ask. Is this still a war between Isaac and Esau then? We'll get to that. I want to see the Israelites be united. That's all they want to see is your unity. That's the biggest. Oh, let me finish that. Yeah, so that, check out Let's Will. And the general said, number 4, we're afraid of I jumped ahead. Terrorists. We're afraid of terrorists. 3, hybrid armies. 2, little green men. Real spill. Number 1, he said tribes. He said then you'll be facing tribes. That's what he told his armed services. You'll be facing tribes. Now this dude went from hybrid armies, little green men, and terrorists, and skipped over for his number 1, tribes. What kind of tribes? Indian tribes, indigenous tribes, the tribes of Yashra, Israel. The only time I hear tribes is when I'm thinking indigenous people that were pushed off their land and mutilated and stolen from and genocide. And the tribes of Israel, which were also Deuteronomy 28, cursed and exterminated, right? So these two things are almost exterminated, right? Now we just have a remnant. So he says, hey, man, you know, I want to see the Israelites be united to influence others like myself, to reject this corporation. Waking up. Even he knows he's in a corporation in Japan world to be truly free again. Thanks a lot for providing interesting information, and sorry about my writing. Hope you understand, man. I just gave him a humble response, man. But, you know what I'm saying? That's it, man. That's it. So from there we can build. From there we can build, because you at least care about the babies in the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? And it's imperative to him that we unite. When he says Israel unite, I'm talking about your indigenous behind. And we, of course, we're spread throughout the four corners. We get that. Of, the ends. We're all over the place. You know what I'm saying? But we are congested in this area here. You know what I'm saying? We can trace our migrations, and that's why we're linking up the Aztecs and the Mayans, so-called and so-called. Oh, they vanished. Or we slaughtered them at the same time. All right, so I think that's about it. I'll finish his last paragraph. He says, thus, a few insulated facts, while there are historical facts easy to prove that they are neglected and forgotten. Thus, it is a positive fact that many ancient nations of the East, such as Libyans, Moors, Etruscans, Etruscans, however you say that, Etruscans, Phoenicians, Hindus, have heard of America or knew nearly as much of it as we did of Australia, Polynesia, 100 years ago. So in other words, he's saying they didn't even know. Thus, it is a positive fact that many ancient nations of the East, such as the Libyans, Moors, Etruscans, Phoenicians, Hindus, had heard of America. It's a positive fact that they heard of America or knew nearly as much of it as we did of Australia and Polynesia 100 years ago. All right, so, he's saying they have heard of it, That's why I had to read it again. That made no sense. I was like, Phoenicians especially, Libyans, Moors, they all over, you know what I'm saying? We here, man. We all here. Now, I'm not here to claim this. They're like, I could be anything, right? Anybody could be anything. Again, I choose order. You choose order. Let's not get caught up in bloodlines trying to haplo each other to death. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of like putting the message out and for everyone to understand that this order and that you're going to get down with us or you're not. If you're with us, you're in order. If you try to scatter us, then you're scattering sheep. And that's not going to go too well. Because you're against nature. You're against energy. You think your information that you had 30 years ago is just locked and sinker. You don't understand the information that's abounding at the end times and why the Most High needs you to be flexible. He needs to be able to mold you all the way to the end into what you're supposed to be. But if you're stuck on your old information, instead of being able to empty your cup and say, okay, here's the babies I'm going to keep here, here's the babies I'm going to keep here, here's the openness I'm going to accept here. When you understand, man, I've gone all my life not knowing, even having a clue, you know what I'm saying, how important it was, man, how important it is, you know what I'm saying, to love my Creator, how important it is to, you know what I'm saying, truly put that first. And what that really means, man, it's an energy thing. It's not like, oh, I put him first, I'm religious, you know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of like, you put order first. When you put order first, he can put his full power behind you. If you're out of order and you think there's another way and here's your other way, here's my own way, how could it be any other way than that which is in the order of creation? You think the order of creation is sitting back waiting for you to go your own way? While you manifest you think the order of creation is just waiting for you to manifest yourself. Yeah, just keep doing it over and over again. The cycles last forever. No rush. Just get slaughtered. And it happened. It might happen again. The ebb and flow. That's like spinning. Because it never stops. You have to stop it. And say, whoa, this is in 1836? If this is in 1836, less than 200 years ago, then I can positively say today that they don't have a clue who I am, you are, we are. But not that the powers don't know, you know what I'm saying? But most people still don't understand. So they're going to fight you tooth and nail. Because the minute you say you're indigenous, they say, well, what are you trying to say? You know, something triggers and people get upset. You are the only people that you can tell people who you are and it will offend them. That's why the Creator says, for my name's sake, you've been afflicted. Because nobody's cool with hearing that. No one's cool with hearing that you think that, you know what I'm saying, you special. But if you are in the energy of your Creator, He wants you to be, you know what I'm saying, jumping for joy and spreading the truth about how special you are. I have a daughter. She should know she's special. I want her to go through her life telling everybody that I'm special. Even if it makes them sick. Because she is. Your Creator wants you to go through life telling everybody you're special. Even if it makes other people sick, because it's true. And if it makes them sick, then they need to get with it or get left on. And understand, you know what I'm saying, that hey, you shouldn't be sick. Because no one is excluding you. Everybody can be included on this playground. But you gotta, you know, play by the rules. You can't be chopping us up, taking our shit. Stop it. Stop putting us down, calling us names, taking, not giving, acting like, oh, why don't y'all pull yourselves up, do this and do. We were just fine. And every time we got just fine again, Rosewood, Oklahoma, Tulsa, all that, it was taken back away. Because they can't leave us alone, don't you see? They can't let us do our own thing. They got to keep us in their cities and zip codes. They don't want you in the wilderness, being a nation. You'll be threat number one. Oh, you are threat number one. Remember, number one is tribes. All right. Here we go. Here we go. It is as certain that America contained anciently as even now a crowd of distinct nations and tribes, some of which were quite civilized, perhaps as much as the Spaniards. You mean the motherfuckers that came over here and started eating us? Eating us? That we had to teach how to farm? We had to teach him how to farm. And about soap and deodorant. But wait. This person says, oh yeah, we got some, okay, yeah, here we go. It is certain that America contained anciently, some were civilized perhaps as much as the Spaniards led by Columbus. He dropped Columbus and said maybe some of these tribes were as civilized as Columbus, who had to spend the rest of his life in a Spanish prison for murdering so many people. And much more offenses to the crown. Okay? So maybe we're as civilized as Spaniards. That's what I'm telling you. It's not ipso facto. I'm just giving you some drops. So when he says stuff like this, it reminds you who's talking. And when you understand who's talking, then you'll understand who's researching. And when you understand who's researching, you understand that this is science. And that they're basing stuff off of this. And that this is their, for the most part, view of you as well. So when you see bullshit about some, you know, well, you guys are just this. We figured it out. Well, you didn't figure it out in 1836. He said everybody was lazy, and he's going to do it for the first time. He's going to figure out who we are for the first time in 1836. And in 2016, yeah, we're from Africa. And if I say that, my own brother got to be upset with me, my African brother. Because I can't inherit the Western Hemisphere without insulting somebody. I can't have inheritance way on all this land over here that also included Atlantis and Lemuria. You need to add Hold up, man. Hold up, man. Hold up, man. Hold up. Gotta do it. Hope I can find this fast. Cause you have to see this, okay? A picture's worth 1,000 words, they say. That's what they say. So we're going to see if this is worth 1,000 words, at least for a demonstration. So that when I bring this up in the future about what this map could possibly be and what we might be talking about. Again, it's not ipso facto. I'm just kicking it. Let's see. Atlantis. Come on, baby. Give me that. Give me that. This is quite possibly, of course, this is a projection, like a globe projection, you know, flattened out. So it's not the flat earth or what it actually will look like, you know what I'm saying, when you look at the azimuthal equidistant AE projection. But it can give you a visual of what we're talking about. Okay. Lemuria. Now, don't get confused. They got America over here and America here. So it's just kind of a spread out thing. So you can see America here, America here. So just focus on like this. Let me see. Try to make it easy. All right, cool. Let's focus over here. Because you got America, you got Africa, South America, Europe, Asia. All right, see this Lemuria? It's on the other side of here, right? This is America here. It'll be connected to Asia like that. Now, that was Mu. Lemuria. All this is sunk. All this is sunk. But you can still kind of see some outlay of that. You know, look at Google Earth and kind of check it out. But this fit together. All this fit together, all right? When this was, you know what I'm saying, taken out, according to the Atlantean, you know, stories, you know what I'm saying, with Plato, Socrates, and a lot of other people, that this water became unnavigable. So they couldn't even navigate this. And finally, you know, it was still very rough, but they were able to kind of, you know, get a path through it. And Columbus, of course, got help from some indigenous people who helped him out. Okay, so that's the drop. That's a possible illustration, possibly, but to me it's kind of making sense, you know what I mean? So Atlantis will be in between America and Africa. So when it connected, you had like you know what I'm saying, who's that, I think Hannibal, who had, you know, some story from having this wall, and they had to get over the wall, excuse me, just to get into Atlantis. And then, I mean, this is all, you know, this Atlantic Ocean used to be Atlantis, but now it's the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, you can't just overlook that. You can't overlook that. So that's the map. Last part.